Today, we're very fortunate to have Belinda Spratt with us from Belinda Spratt Wellness, and her handle on Instagram is Blends by Belinda. Maybe you know her through there. We're so happy to have you with us today. Well,
thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're going to dive into some questions. Tell us a bit more about yourself and your brand's health focus.
Okay, so just a little bit of background. I saw at the age of 7, I saw the benefits hand massage had on my mom. And I decided that that's how I want to make people feel. I want to be part of a de-stress community program, system, lifestyle, call it what you want. And then got into the essential oils through perfume. And then obviously went and studied. And that's how I do life. I do life through my senses and through feeling my way into a response instead of just being explosive. I mean, that's taken a lot of work. To be honest, I didn't start off like that. And then as far as the brand goes, the brand is built on those pillars of being aware, being excited about life enough so that you can feel it inside and you're not trying to seek excitement. You're not trying to fill yourself from excitement that you're seeing on the outside. You're getting excited about an experience, and that then creates that outside frequency, or that frequency that you then send outside of you. So the brand is based on you choose how you would like to feel and what skills have I got that I can offer you to support that feeling and help with that growth.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to hop back a bit to the scents. What can you tell us about your scents?
Okay, so I started creating essential oil brands in the textbook manner, where I literally look up recipes and follow them. And then I started following my intuition a lot more. And I started putting blends together that you can't buy on the shelf. And then I spoke with a woman that whose salon I used to work in years ago. And I spoke about wanting to work with different oils. And she said, try the Fynbos oils. And I'd never heard of Fynbos oils before. But being incredibly curious by nature, I then drove to Rubia Castile, went and met with the supplier and fell in love with them. And then understanding how integration works with the different body systems, I chose to create a range of integrated blends, one that works on the nervous system, one that works on the respiratory system, one that works on lifting the mood. And just getting to understand how those different systems all work together. And then I created a range from that. And my 3 favorites, and they're still my 3 favorites today, is the Cape Snowbush, because it's incredibly calming. And then the African Wormwood, because it's got quite a sharp smell, but it's a beautiful opener for the respiratory system. And then the African Lemon Verbena. It is so incredibly refreshing. It's like lemongrass with the most beautiful South African twist to it, where it's got such an organic awakening of the senses. Beautiful. So yeah, and then I just developed those 3, and the base is orange, sweet orange and rose geranium. And then I just created them, and that was that really. It wasn't
I love that. I can almost smell them as you're describing them. I'm like, Can you tell us why scent is so intrinsically important? How does it affect healing and general well-being?
Okay, so the 2 senses that respond the fastest are your hearing and your sense of smell. And so why is your sense of smell so intrinsically important with healing? Because when you smell an aroma that makes you feel good, your entire nervous system becomes responsive. It becomes receptive. Whereas when you smell something you don't like, your whole body contracts. Okay. Which means that you're not going to be curious. You're going to be curious because you're going to try and bring yourself into safety. Whereas when you smell something that you like, you open up and you then naturally, it's such an automatic thing. You then want to share it with the person next to you. And so that then it brings in that sense of very natural connection, of excitement, of I want to share this joy with you. And then the other thing is also it obviously shifts the hormone chemistry in the body. So now you've got dopamine and serotonin, and you've got oxytocin running, and your cortisol levels are lower. You're now transitioning from being reactive to receptive, maybe even sliding into a slightly parasympathetic state where you're going into almost a sense of awe. How many times have you smiled something and you go, oh, isn't that amazing? And you're in that sense of awe, which is one of the most healing states for us to be in, is to be in a sense of awe. And so that's why I love working with essential oils, and I love introducing new oils to people. And then their body tells me what's happening. Changes your breath rhythm, changes your heart rate. It's amazing. Beautiful.
I wanted to delve into the universal significance of massage and touch, because I think this affects everyone, especially with regards to women especially.
Okay, so our bodies, especially as women, hold a huge amount of tension because we're always told to manage our emotions, control ourselves. We're never really given, it's almost like we're never really given permission to feel, let go, relax. And so when you come for a massage, that is, for lack of a nicer way of saying, it's almost like your permission slip to just completely receive being nurtured. Because we're always nurturing and looking after. And when you come in for that session, you're being nurtured, you're receiving care. And through touch, there's, again, the heart rate gets lowered, the blood pressure gets lowered, the body gets flushed of excess stress hormones. There's a oxytocin serotonin connection that takes place where, especially if you feel safe in that environment, you're feeling loved, you're feeling cared for, and you're on the receiving end of all of the nurturing and care that you always give. And now your cup is being filled. And so for women, I feel it's incredibly important. Go for the facial, go for the massage, go for the pedicure, open yourself to receiving being cared for, because then you also value it. You value the care that you give. And also from a tension perspective, as I say, we hold things together all the time. And when you come in for that touch experience, you don't have to hold it together. You can actually just let it go. And so that's why I feel touch is hugely important, especially for women. And that non-sexual touch where there's you're not expected to reciprocate. All she's asking you to do, or all your therapist is asking you to do, is just receive this nurture and care. It's not a box ticking experience. It's not just another thing you do. It's a moment in time where you get to pause and feel.
Exactly. I know we were chatting a bit earlier before we started recording that you're lucky enough to not have dealt with any misconceptions so far. When it comes to so far in women's wellness. But I wanted to ask you if you've seen any sort of false messaging or narrative on social media that's to do with aesthetic rather than intention and purpose, and what your whole stance on that is.
Okay, so two of my biggest bugbears, or one of, actually, I don't have many, but one that it's been standing out for me for quite some time, is that lymphatic drainage is a weight loss treatment. It's not a weight loss treatment. Okay. Lymphatic drainage is there to support the filtering systems of your body so that your body's immune system can be better, so that your body's lymphatic system can work more efficiently, so that you have the texture of the skin improves. When you go for really good lymphatic drainage, you're going to be less bloated because it's amazing for gut health. It's amazing for managing headaches. It's incredible for managing headaches. It's incredible for supporting better joint mobility. So that's been something that's been a stone in my shoe. And that is something I would like to address. When you go for your lymphatic drainage session, a benefit of that is the fact that your elimination system is going to work more efficiently. So you are going to have less fluid retention, yes. But it's not just the lymphatic drainage that's going to do that. We need to combine it with a change in diet. We need to look at what's happening with your breath rhythm as such, which parts of the body aren't working as well as they can to support the drainage of lymph. So, yeah, so that's been one of my big ones. And also the misconception that it's a once-off. No, it's a series of treatments depending on what's happening You internally, if you come to me, you're bloated, you've got headaches, you've got inflammation, you're struggling with anxiety, we're looking at between 6 and 10 sessions to work on supporting rebalancing of the body. And that's a lot less expensive than landing up in hospital.
Absolutely.
And it's also more rewarding.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to touch back on nervous system because you briefly mentioned it, nervous system regulation. What are your 3 tools to maintain a healthy nervous system?
I observe the pace that I'm doing things at, number one. So am I, like when I'm doing it, am I rushing without needing to rush? Because that's a really nice way of bringing your nervous system into safety. So it's not so much about regulating my nervous system. How safe am I currently feeling? And then I can regulate the nervous system. So am I rushing because I'm feeling unsafe, or am I rushing because it's a deadline? And it takes you a microsecond to figure out which one it is, or if I'm under pressure. And is it real pressure or is it perceived pressure? Then the other one is I love going for cold water swims. I love the way my body feels afterwards. And that also brings me 100% into the present moment and brings me into I am safe in my own body. And I literally have a mantra which runs through my head, which I will do in the words. I am safe and comfortable in my own body, which when you're in 9-degree water, which is not exactly comfortable, you're telling yourself, I'm safe and I'm comfortable in my own body, despite the discomfort that might be outside of me. And then it's incredible how that brings you into safety and then supports nervous system regulation. Nervous system safety. Also, I write down what it is I would like to take care of that day. And that also, interestingly enough, brings me 100% into what needs to be done today and what can wait. And that brings me into nervous system regulation also. Instead of feeling like I've got to do a whole week's amount of things in 24 hours. I mean, yeah, maybe we can, but do we have to? Or can we actually use this week? So those are 3 of the things that I do for me. Also, less caffeine, a lot less. And I don't check my phone for the first 90 minutes of waking up because I don't need to. I'm not working on the stock exchange. I don't need to.
Amazing. I wanted to unpack mental health. In your opinion, how does this affect your overall health?
Wow. Okay, so
It's quite a loaded question.
it is and it isn't. For me personally, your thoughts can make you ill or they can make you well. Done. The other thing is the environment that you find yourself in, whether it's work, whether it's social. Feel how you feel when you're in those environments. Do you feel uplifted? Do you feel motivated? Obviously, you're not going to feel uplifted every day and motivated every day, but you can feel it more than not. So for me, mental health is, again, don't rush if you don't have to. Do what feels right for you. So if that means that you're no longer going to participate in activities that you've always participated in, and you're not necessarily going to spend time with those people in that way, find other ways if you like spending time with them. Find other ways to be with them. But don't let the pressure of performance affect your physical health and your mental health. And I think that's something that we're dealing with in a large way at the moment, is letting go of the musts, could, shoulds, and have tos because of how we're going to be judged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's for me how mental health affects physical health. People get sick, badly sick. Stomach ulcer, TMJ, it's a great one. If you want to have something about mental health, see what's happening with their jaw. They're grinding their teeth because they're probably chewing their words instead of speaking them. Also, weight gain, weight loss, same thing. So that's what I'm noticing. I'm seeing it in posture. I'm seeing it in breath rhythm. The amount of people who are experiencing shallow breathing, or where the rib cage is in a state of contraction because they can't do that comfortably. And that is based on I have to, or I have to keep silent, and so the whole body ends up doing this. Whereas if your mind feels free, you do this and you're fearless about it. And you play with it. So yes, that's my take on mental health and physical.
Perfect. I wanted to quickly unpack, because you deal with a lot of products and natural, your oils and all of that kind of thing, product purity and integrity. There's so many wellness products out there, but some of them are filled with harmful ingredients. They're not authentic. Why is ingredient intelligence so important to you?
Because of the message you're sending the body. So I had the opportunity to choose different oils to work with when I was living in the Middle East. And the supplier presented me with oils that were synthetic versus oils that were real. And I said to him, I want the oils that are real for the simple reason being I know what I want to achieve. This isn't financially driven for me. This is goal orientated for what am I trying to achieve for my clients? How do I want them to feel? Do I want to put a band-aid on a problem, or do I actually want to help heal and support the healing of that? And I can't do it with synthetic ingredients. It doesn't work. It's like just listening to the birds on an audio versus actually being in nature and listening to them. Suddenly there's a complete sensory shift that happens, which is amazing. And I love that. So I like working with natural products. I like knowing what I'm putting on my skin. And so I just treat what I make for the public to use in the same way. I know what I'm putting on your skin. I know how it's going to affect you. I know the chemistry balance of those products. So I know what happens when you smell it. Is it going to last you 5 minutes, or is that going to continue running through your system and continue benefiting you? That's why I prefer using, authentically made. And that's why I source my oils. The person I've sourced them from, I've been into her factory. She showed me around and I said, I love what you're doing. She also sources the fynbos oils from farmers that are farming ethically. And so I never have to wonder ever about what the end user is getting. I know what they're getting.
You know exactly.
I know what they're getting. I've met the person that I'm working with. And yeah.
I wanted to quickly chat about sound healing, because I see that you do that. How does this modality benefit a woman's wellness and well-being?
Okay, so I love this. It's deeply, deeply relaxing, which also when we go into that deeply relaxed state, our bodies can let go and they can receive and they can breathe. Like the entire system it's beautiful to see how the posture changes as you're going through that sound journey. Those audible exhales, the feet that roll out to the side super comfortably. And again, because as women, we hold so much tension inside the body, it's one of the most beautiful ways of releasing that tension in an unforced manner. It's so subtle in how it shifts the holding patterns in the body. And the other thing that I've noticed is people come into a session and they're stressed and they're worried about this and that and the next thing. And at the end of the session, we actually then find out what's really underneath all of the surface layer chaos. So it's a beautiful way of just moving all of that surface layer noise away from the body so that what we really want to reach for can reach us. That deep rest, that honest conversation, that perhaps that necessary cry or whatever it is can then actually land in the body. And so that for me is what I've noticed with the sound healing is it lifts tension in the most beautiful way and it brings what it is that we're really feeling to the surface.
Yeah. It's amazing for the nervous system.
It's unbelievable how it just quietens that almost like that panic that isn't audible. That constant, I have to, oh my goodness. And then you come in for a session and we go, you know what? Because we don't have to be on all the time. You can actually switch off and bring that nervous system into safety so that it's safe enough to feel so that you get to feel what you want to feel versus, again, the performance process.
Now, this ties into the next question because it's got to do as well with today's dysregulated and fast-paced world. You obviously are a huge lover of nature, and how does nature in itself have similar impacts on a woman's physical and mental health, would you say?
Oh my word. There are not enough days in this year for this, but I'm going to keep it short. So for me, I mean, I can only speak from my experience and from the experience that I had this weekend and draw on the other experiences is when we disconnect from our role and reconnect with ourselves in a natural environment, your entire nervous system shifts and you can literally, and it's beautiful because it's so beautiful to see actually. There's this transition that happens where you just go into this pause and then there's this incredible exhale, and women are so good at observing and then receiving that in just the most abundant way. It's incredible how they'll say, oh, this is exactly what I needed. We are so sensitive we're so sensitive to frequency and we're so sensitive to change. And so when we go into nature, we don't increase that sensitivity in a point of irritable. It's almost as though you're able to settle completely in your body so you can feel what is happening outside of you, but you're in your body. You're not scattered. So for women, I find when they do place themselves in nature, they actually they become more themselves is the only phrase that comes to mind. That they step into that natural, creative, wonder, excitement mode, which then is exactly where you want your nervous system to be. Because you then start seeing possibility. We went walking in the forest yesterday and it was beautiful because we both stopped at the same time and we said, that's where the fairies live. Both of us. You know? Because we looked at this, but yes, we've been walking barefoot for quite some time. So there was that connection to the vibration of the earth, dropped both of us down in the most beautiful way, where we then started playing a game. And I said, what shapes can you see in that? And I said, I see a hand. She said, I'm seeing a love knot, or do you know what I mean? And so, and then again, that connection with nature, it bevels the edges. And it softens things so that we're more aware of what's happening in our environment. And then we lean more comfortably. It takes the rigidity out of how we move, how we flow. It also takes the fear element out of making decisions because you're now feeling your environment. So I can decide how I would like to move based on a feeling. I liken it to an octopus coming out of its cave. First thing it does, tentacles. What am I feeling? What am I smelling? Which direction do I want to move into based on what I'm feeling and what I'm smelling? And that's why nature is so amazing for women because it brings us back to that natural ability to feel.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. I love that octopus analogy. It makes so much sense. I wanted to ask you, in the next 3 months, are there any collabs or events or things that are happening on social workshops?
I've actually been wanting to host a workshop called Release Tension, Create Space. If there's any conscious connected breathwork instructors that have heard this, please reach out to me so we can have a conversation about how we could go about doing that. It could either be a once-off, it could be a series, and just supporting people in releasing tension in the body so that their breath rhythm can flow and so they can receive even more of the medicine in their conscious connected breathwork sessions. And also part of that workshop is to bring in the engineering of the body and how it actually works from a physiology as an actual structural perspective and not just the breath is stuck. Why is the breath stuck? What do we need to soften so that it starts to move. And then we've started, myself and a woman in Hermanus, we've started a tapping and aromatic movement practice. I'm not sure what you want to call it, at one of the schools here, to get them to understand the rhythm of their own body with tapping, how to bring themselves into a sense of safety, and then also the benefit of the essential oils for opening up the mind to be receptive to information, and also just softening how we receive our environment. So that project actually started before Easter, and we will see results at the end of the year based on not just the exam results, but also just on how they are interacting with one another in this environment. So I'm actually really, really excited about that because it hasn't been done before.
Amazing.
Yeah, it hasn't been implemented previously. And I was approached and I said, yes, let's do it. And we'll, if we don't try, we won't know.
Exactly.
So,
I want to quickly ask you if there are breathwork practitioners or maybe someone that actually wants to take part in one of your upcoming workshops. How do they get hold of you? Where is the easiest platform to get hold of you?
so either on the website or through the social media handle.
Just tell us what your website is.
It's www.belindaspratwellness.co.za. And then obviously the social media handle Blends by Belinda.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute amazing experience to I could actually feel so many of the things that you were talking about. It's very relaxed.
Good. I'm pleased. Thank you for having me and for inviting me to come and share. I'm grateful.